The Danube is no gentle river. It thrashes, swirls, and crashes against its banks as if trying to push the world away. Along its edge, stretching for miles, the Gothic refugees stand in a slow-moving tide of humanity. Families wrapped in patched furs, warriors scarred by years of wandering, children who have known more fear than sleep. They all stare toward the Roman side as if salvation itself were visible just beyond the waves. Their horses snort steam into the cold morning air. Carts creak under the weight of all they possess. Every face bears the same look of exhausted hope, the fragile kind that trembles under the slightest disappointment. They have fled the Huns, fled starvation, fled the death of entire villages. Now soaked by river spray and whipped by harsh winds, they wait for Roman permission to live, to rest, to become something other than prey. And as the hours stretch into days, the river becomes a symbol of everything between them and survival, cold, unyielding, and indifferent. When the Roman administrators arrive, the crowd stirs, but the relief is short-lived. These are not men sent to help. They are men who smell profit in desperation. They inspect the refugees with cold eyes, calculating value instead of need. Grain shipments are diverted into private storehouses, then sold back to the starving Goths at ruinous prices. Mothers trade jewelry for scraps of moldy bread. Warriors fight over baskets of rotting meat thrown like bait into the mud. The officials threaten punishment for any who complain, and Roman guards enforce their will with iron-tipped staves. Everywhere, frustration sizzles like metal in a fire. Every insult, every hunger pang, every dead child pushed the Goths closer to revolt. What Rome sees as management, the Goths experience as betrayal. And betrayal repeated enough becomes hatred. The river crossing ceases to be a moment of hope. It becomes the beginning of a storm. Far away in Constantinople, Emperor Valens sits in his marble palace, reading report after report with a tightening jaw. Each document speaks of rising unrest, of Gothic warriors bristling under Roman abuse, of settlements edging toward violence. Yet Valens' thoughts drift elsewhere. He is the lesser of two emperors, overshadowed by his nephew Gratian in the west, who has recently won a string of victories that Rome praises in every city. Valens feels the weight of comparison like a hand around his throat. Here, he thinks, lies his chance. A rebellion can be crushed, a foreign army can be humbled, a decisive victory can carve his name into the empire's stone, and so he surrounds himself with advisors who promise easy triumph, who flatter his impatience, who sketch battles that end neatly with Roman victory. But history has a habit of punishing those who underestimate desperation, and Valens is not listening. As the legions march north toward Adrianople, the air thickens with summer heat and whispered uncertainty. Rows of helmets glint harshly under the August sun, and each step kicks up clouds of dust that cling to armor and stifle breath. Soldiers adjust straps, wipe sweat from their brows, and murmur about rumors. Rumors of enormous Gothic cavalry forces, of supply failures, of commanders arguing behind silk curtains. The officers bark out orders to quiet the talk, but even they exchange uneasy glances when they think no one is watching. Valens, however, refuses to slow his pace. He believes the Goths are exhausted, scattered, unable to withstand the might of Rome. His scouts bring scattered reports, but he focuses only on the parts that confirm his assumptions. 2 days ahead lies a battlefield he believes he's choosing, but in truth, it's one being prepared for him. On the plains near Adrianople, the Gothic camp seems almost peaceful from a distance. The wagon lager, hundreds of carts chained into a fortified ring, forms a rugged, defensive shell. Smoke curls upward from cooking fires, drifting lazily in the heavy air, giving the illusion of calm domesticity. But the illusion ends the moment you look closer. Inside the ring, warriors sharpen swords already worn to thin edges. Mothers bandage children who have learned to run at the sound of Roman horns. Elders gather in tense clusters, discussing strategies with voices low but urgent. And beyond the far ridge, shimmering in heat haze like a mirage, waits the hidden Gothic cavalry. The true hammer of the coming battle, tens of thousands of horsemen, temporarily separated from the main camp by hunting and foraging missions, now lie in perfect position to strike. Rome has overlooked them. the Goths have not. As dawn breaks on August 9th, the Roman officers gather around a sand table map, drawing lines with gloved fingers as Valens watches impatiently legions in the center. Light infantry screening ahead, cavalry split between the wings, reserves held behind for a final push. It is a textbook Roman formation, but the battlefield is anything but textbook. The heat is suffocating. The Romans are thirsty, hungry, and fatigued from a forced march scouts return with conflicting reports. Some say the Gothic cavalry is nowhere nearby. Others insist they're close. Valens chooses the report he prefers to be true. Then with a final command, he orders the advance. His army moves forward under a blazing sun that bleaches the sky into a hard, merciless white armor burns against skin. Thirst gnaws at discipline, but Roman pride pushes them onward, step by grinding step. The battle begins not with a shout, but with a whisper of arrows slicing the air. They fall like a sudden storm, rattling against Roman shields, kicking up dust, and forcing the front ranks to tighten formation. The Romans press forward, trying to reach the wagon laager before the Goths can reorganize. But every step becomes a struggle. Dust clouds swirl, obscuring sight. Heat presses down until men feel they're drowning on dry land. The Goths fight with controlled fury, retreating just far enough to draw the Romans deeper into the trap. Horns blare, drums thud like a heartbeat, and each side braces for the moment when strategy gives way to pure survival. What the Romans cannot see, what they cannot even imagine, is the cavalry preparing to descend upon them like a thunderclap. It starts as a tremor, a vibration under the soles of Roman boots. Then, like the sky itself is collapsing, a roar erupts from the horizon. Through the dust haze comes a wall of horsemen surging forward in a single terrifying wave. The Gothic cavalry slams into the Roman left flank with the force of an avalanche. Shields crack like brittle wood. Infantry lines buckle, twist, then shatter. Panic spreads faster than any command can contain it. Riders sweep through the ranks, hacking downward with swords that glint like flashes of lightning. Roman units try to pivot, but the dust blinds them. Enemy shapes appear and vanish in choking clouds. Officers scream for discipline, but discipline dissolves under the weight of fear. In minutes, the left flank is gone. In a few more, the entire Roman formation begins to collapse inward, as if imploding under its own despair. The battlefield becomes a living nightmare. Cohorts break apart into isolated knots of men fighting back to back, unaware of friend or foe. The heat, the dust, the screams, all blend into a single overwhelming roar. Some legions attempt to retreat, but find themselves trapped between the Gothic infantry and the crushing wave of cavalry. Others stand their ground until they are swallowed whole. Amid the chaos, Emperor Valens is swept away, lost in a tide of fleeing soldiers and charging horsemen. Some say he was struck by an arrow. Others say he was carried into a farmhouse that was then set ablaze. No one knows for certain. When the fire dies and the battle settles into eerie quiet, only a scrap of imperial purple remains, drifting on the evening wind. The Emperor of the East has vanished, leaving an army without direction and an empire without certainty. As night settles over the plains of Adrianople, the last echoes of the battle fade into a suffocating silence. The moon reveals a landscape transformed into a graveyard. Shields half buried in churned earth, swords bent and useless, helmets cracked like eggshells. Bodies lie scattered in twisted positions, their armor reflecting pale light like frozen ripples of a shattered sea. Survivors, Gothic and Roman alike, move like ghosts among the wreckage, searching for friends, scavenging supplies, whispering prayers. Somewhere in the distance, wolves howl, drawn by the scent of death carried on the wind. And in that bleak stillness, a realization settles over all who witness the carnage. Rome has suffered not merely a defeat, but a breaking. The empire that once seemed eternal now feels fragile, vulnerable, mortal. The world has shifted, and the old order will never again stand as firmly as it did before the day Rome bled beneath the summer sun.